Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dual Dialogue podcast. This is a very special episode today because just like I did for Halloween, we're doing another holiday special, a Christmas special this time. My name is Cameron. I'm an entertainment journalist here to talk about what more fitting for a Christmas episode, I would say, than a Charlie Brown Christmas. Some would argue the pioneer of the Christmas special that we all know today, that's very popular now. But I'm not alone. As you all know the spiel if you're watching, this podcast is not meant to be Cameron talks on a pedestal for an hour. Have guests on every episode who I think are suited to talk about a certain project with me, who I want to talk about and share my love of entertainment and film and television with. This week, I have another friend from, you guessed it, Chapman's Film School. My friend Cassie Thanos, who's also a roommate of mine in college and a big Peanuts enjoyer like me, is here to talk about the special with me. But she should introduce herself over me. Cassie, why don't you say hi to everybody and give a little hello from yourself?
Cool. Hello, everybody. My name is Cassie. Like Cameron said, I was a friend of his at Chapman's Film School. I'm now working as a video game producer for an independent video game company with a game that's launching very soon. So we're very excited about that. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, Cassie has done a lot of cool things in the video game space that she kind of started while at Chapman. Um, but in between Cassie working kind of the video game route and me working the journalism route that I also a love I developed in college. Whenever Christmas came around, I feel like Cassie, out of the four of us in our little house that we had, you were always maybe the most excited about the holiday season. And we enjoyed, like, we decorated the house, put up a Christmas tree, like we had a
Hmm.
lot of fun with Christmas. And part of our celebration and festivities for when we lived together in December, we would watch a Charlie Brown Christmas. It's something that I know is really, really special to me growing up. I grew up with this. I know, like, my parents grew up with this special. I know it's really special to you as well. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it for Christmas. Before we kind of break down the special, beat by beat, scene for scene, I want to ask you very generally, um, why do you love this special, or does it mean something to you?
I think there's always a nostalgia pull with it. I grew up with this film like you did. My parents grew up with this film. We always would watch it, or at least I would always like to put it on Christmas Eve. It's just one of those things that, like, the end of the night, you've done all your wrapping, you've done whatever. Like, let's all sit down and watch this little 30-minute special before we all go to bed and wait for Santa to come the next morning, right? And
Hmm.
I think there was just something so serene about it. I think a lot of movies, especially now, and especially geared towards, not that Charlie Brown is ever geared towards kids, but animation always has, a certain kid background to it. Like, it can be so loud and bright and everything. What I love about Charlie Brown Christmas is you put it on, it's quiet, it's serene, it has meaning, which I
Hmm.
absolutely adore. And it's just like, yeah, I can get a little cup of hot cocoa and a blanket, and they have the tree with all the sparkles on it, and I can watch Charlie Brown Christmas, and I just feel at home. And no matter what age I am, I think that it just kind of roots me right back into this is the spirit of Christmas.
Hmm.
And we'll get into it, but like it talks a lot about, commercialism and what does Christmas really mean? And I think whenever I'm feeling like I don't know what Christmas means, this little 30-minute special tells me exactly what I need to know. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. This is Christmas, and like this is
Hmm.
what this means to me.
I don't think I can add anything of value to what you just said. But that's a really poignant point. I want to talk about a few things you touched on, like kind of how animation might be geared towards kids, but I think this has another meaning to it, and its whole message about commercialism, what the true meaning of Christmas is. Like I mentioned before I gave you the floor, I also grew up with this. This is something I've watched, I think, every year that I can remember in the during the Christmas season. I love all the Peanut specials. I watch Great Pumpkin every Halloween. I love the Thanksgiving special. And I will go into it when we in a minute or so when we go through scene by scene, but I think this is one piece of Christmas media, and there's a bunch of others from this time period, the 60s and 70s when it came out, but it's a piece of just media that I think just looking at any single frame is so iconic, whether it's just the characters or the animation, the music, which I know you and I can do a whole 2 hours on just the score of this, but
Mhm.
it it is such an iconic piece of entertainment in almost every regard, and that's kind of why it sticks with me. When I watched it a few days ago to prepare for this episode again, I there were a few individual shots where I really just felt like, wow, like nostalgic and iconic and just fun to be taking in. We'll kind of start going through it scene by scene. It's been, I think it's a very iconic opening, but we open with Vince Guaraldi, who was the composer for a lot of the Peanuts specials. Absolutely incredible. Starting with Christmas Time is Here. There's a vocal version and an instrumental version. Little sidebar for one Christmas, or for my birthday, when we were at Chapman, Cassie bought me the vinyl of this special, so I can listen to that on my records now. And you can hear there's a children's choir that sings Christmas Time is Here. You can hear on the record. It's really, really sweet. That song, that piece is overlaying a visual of all the Peanuts characters minus Charlie Brown and Linus skating on an ice rink. And it before we started recording, I kind of thought about this. You know, Peanuts was a comic strip that was had been running, I think for oh, I'm gonna get this so wrong. I think for maybe 10 years or so before the special aired. So if you're someone watching this in 1965 when it was released, and you know the Peanuts, like it probably is a bit of a surreal feeling to now see them animated see all these characters you know on TV in like a visual form. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is really surreal. I mean, you start with the spirit of Christmas with all these characters, like you said, that
Hmm.
people probably had really only seen
Hmm.
on paper, right? Stills. And now you get this moment where everyone's together and it's like, this is Christmas time. Not only are you seeing this cast of characters that you know and love, but you see them in the spirit of the holiday season. I think what's even more important is like, yeah, you don't get Charlie Brown, you don't get Linus in this moment because he's not ready for that
Hmm.
yet. Everyone's like, this is Christmas time. And like, you set that up, but then you immediately cut to, Charlie Brown and Linus walking and you realize, this isn't, he's not in the spirit of Christmas. And you get that right off the bat. Like, this is
Hmm.
going to be something about Charlie Brown. Yeah, it's a Charlie Brown Christmas. What does that mean? Like, he's
Hmm.
not in the spirit of Christmas. So what's it going to take for him to get there?
Hmm.
I think that's a really strong, like, right from the bat, cool, this is the direction that we're going.
Yeah, it's the title is a Charlie Brown Christmas because it's the Charlie Brown universe. It's Christmas in this franchise. But I think what you just made me think of is like, what is a Charlie Brown Christmas? Well, Charlie Brown is usually maybe a little bit sad. He's got some kind of existential, maybe adult questions on his mind. So a Charlie Brown Christmas is going to be him kind of going working through these questions, um, as opposed to your just typical cheerful holiday. And when I was talking earlier about certain frames of this being so iconic, we cut from the ice skating rink to Charlie Brown and Linus, as you already mentioned, walking to the rink. And I think the Peanuts are just like their outlines, like just like their heads and their bodies in outline form, are so internationally recognized and really iconic. And just the visual of Linus and Charlie Brown with his head down walking while the score was playing, I literally was on my couch watching just that frame in the music and being like, man, this is so iconic. And this is so just, I know this special so well because I've grown up with it. It's so moving just without them even speaking. And they stop at I believe it's a brick wall. And Charlie Brown kind of tells Linus, I can't remember it verbatim. I can do it close, but he essentially tells him, I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. It's Christmas time and I'm sad. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. And Linus kind of has a funny remark about, I can his a bit better. Charlie Brown, you're the only person who can turn a wonderful holiday like Christmas into a problem. It's
Mhm.
and you and I were talking, we can go into this a little bit off recording about where the resonance in this comes now that we're watching it both in our adult years and the working world as college graduates. I'll let you take the floor and then I'll follow up because what I was going to say is based on what you were telling me, but you're welcome to speak a little bit about kind of the resonance you feel from it.
Sure. Yeah, I was actually going to jump back just for a second because
Oh, please.
I do have the film up. And the first line that Charlie says is, I don't know what's wrong with me, Linus.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of interesting because it's kind of insinuating that like Christmas is meant to have a certain feeling. And if you don't feel that way, there is something wrong with you,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that's a very interesting opening line for him to have that like not only is he feeling this way, but he feels very ostracized from everyone else because clearly there's something wrong with him if he can't feel the way everyone else feels about Christmas. Yeah, to your point, when I was watching this film yesterday to prep for this, obviously I'd seen it a million times, but I wanted to be, fresh on the mind. I was like, well, we're going to be talking about this, so let me really watch it. And
Mm,
not to say I haven't really watched it in the past, but I really like let it sit. I was like, I listened to every line, I watched every scene. I was like, this year especially, it's really hitting different. Um, he came in first scene, he's like, I'm not feeling the way I'm supposed to be. I'm not happy. Everyone else is really happy about the Christmas season, but I'm just not feeling it, you know?
mm,
And I think as a kid, I would have been like, what are you talking about, Charlie? Like, it's Christmas time. Like, of
mm,
course it's holly jolly. And this year, I'm like, Charlie Brown might be onto something. I don't think he's so wrong. And I think
Yeah.
this year, I don't know what it is for me this year specifically. I think just this is my first year really being full time in the workforce. I think when you're in school, you have this like you prep for finals and then you get 2, 3 weeks off for Christmas. It's like that's Christmas time. And
Mm,
then suddenly you graduate and you get to start working, which is great, but
mm,
that changes really fast. It's not
mm,
the same 2 weeks off for Christmas. Like people work around the holidays. You have to do what you have to do. And I think that kind of suddenly I was like my normal Christmas spirit, not to say that work has diminished it in any way, but
no.
getting used to a different schedule around the holidays has been new for me.
Mm,
It wasn't as easy to just jump right into the holidays. It was, I don't know, trying to build up to it just wasn't there. And I think this year, especially, I've been really feeling burdened by commercialism, which is what this whole film is about.
mm,
I I was saying to my parents earlier, I was like, I feel like I don't have any gifts for you guys. And repeatedly they'll say, we don't want anything, we don't need anything. Like this isn't what Christmas is about. But I feel so like if I don't have presents under my tree on Thursday, like I've done something wrong this year. And
mm,
it's not a great mindset to have. And I think that Charlie Brown in this moment is really emphasizing that. Like he's feeling like everything's so burdened by commercialism. Like he's got to go buy something, he's got to go make something.
mm,
And it's not what Christmas is about. And we'll get to that later, but
mm,
that's that burden that we get this time of year. And I think for some reason this year I'm really feeling it heavier. And I think it's just because I don't have the normal gifts that I would. And for some
mm.
reason that feels wrong to me, and it shouldn't.
Had the same thought watching it. I think when I was a kid, I kind of viewed Charlie Brown a little bit from Linus's perspective of, oh, Charlie Brown, like, why are you sad? It's Christmas, kind of like you were saying. As an adult, I don't see myself as Linus anymore. I see myself, maybe I'm not Charlie Brown, but I understand Charlie Brown. And we can talk about this a bit more, but I think almost all of like the jokes in this special feel like adult jokes, not in regards as like they're inappropriate, like that kind of adult, but adult in that I don't think a 5-year-old or 6-year-old or 7-year-old will necessarily comprehend what the characters are referencing or talking about. Like, for example, it's a gag in the Peanut specials, Snoopy messes with Lucy and licks her mouth, and she freaks out and goes, get some disinfectant, get some iodine. And I don't think a little kid is going to know what iodine or disinfectant are. But as an adult, you understand the joke. There's a lot of even to be honest with you, Cassie, I don't know if and I do not mean to come off sounding like I'm knocking little children. That's not my intention, but I don't know if a little kid will just in a blank single word understands commercialism, right? Like I don't know if that really you can get across that Charlie Brown doesn't want Christmas to be a holiday about spending in money, but I don't know if commercialism as a vocabulary word is something that's going to stick.
No, and especially for kids that grow up believing in Santa, I mean, that isn't even a concept to them. Santa brings their gifts,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
So there's no I think I watched a video the other day of some kid that told their mom, it's like, Christmas is the best time of year because parents get to sit back and like Santa do everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the child mindset. And that absolutely, I believe that's what it should be. Like that's the spirit of Christmas for them. Like they want to believe. But I think that's where that for adults, it's so different. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about commercialism because it's real for adults and especially for parents. But yeah, no, for kids, I mean, it's visually really appealing. The characters are appealing, like the art's appealing. But yeah, those jokes about I think in that moment with Lucy, the line about iodine and stuff, yeah, only adults are gonna get it. But what the kids find funny is that the dog licks her face and she's like freaking out. Like to them,
Mm-hmm.
that's the funny part.
Yeah.
And so I think it really does balance the humor for kids as well as adults.
hmm
The upper level, maybe the dialogue, the adults are going to get it. It's going to hit for us. But
hmm
the art and the actions, like the kids are going to still be able to grab onto it.
I just really took that in more than I normally do, how almost every single quip is something that like I think people that are maybe older will enjoy or pick up on easier. I always remember as well when the commercial breaks hit because of when like the episode fades in and out. And the one that comes first right after the title card is when Charlie Brown and Linus get to the rink. Snoopy's skating because Snoopy has to have the limelight, and he's spinning around everybody. And he grabs Linus by the blanket and swings Charlie Brown around, throws him into a tree. It's like every single action that every character does is so like I mean heartwarming is a weird word to say because it's Charlie Brown getting thrown into a tree, but it's so nostalgic and I
Mhm.
love all of it. I remember all of it growing up. And we kind of go back to right after this. Charlie Brown's looking out the window at the snow and he checks his mailbox, no Christmas cards, and he yells, he's like, "Hello in there, rats." Like there's nothing in there. And he jokes with I think it's Violet. He's like, "Thank you for the Christmas card you sent me, Violet." She goes, "I didn't send you a Christmas card, Charlie Brown," and walks away. And he's like, "Don't you know sarcasm when you hear it?" I don't think growing up I knew what sarcasm was. I didn't know that he
Yeah.
was making a joke right there. Yeah, he has a very adult sensibility. He keeps wandering, and every character, or not every character, but he keeps getting confronted with this problem of commercialism, like we've talked about. Christmas with the Peanuts gang has become about, I think, wanting more than giving. Sally stops him. She's his little sister, and asks him if he can help her write a letter to Santa. So he's reading it, or I'm sorry, she's directing him on what to write. And by the end of the letter, she basically tells him, "I just want tens and $20 bills." He goes, "Tens and twenties?" Like my own sister gone commercial. He
Hmm.
walks past Snoopy's doghouse, and Snoopy's in the process of ridiculously decorating it with lights and like pinwheels. And he reads the little notice, and it's a big cash prize for the winner. So he's already, blown up by that.
He shows him the newsletter that says, cash
Mhm.
prize. He's like,
Yeah.
my own dog gone commercial. Like,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
funny, but at the same time, it's like real.
hmm
Everyone in his life. I think the big thing about Charlie or Peanuts in general is like you never see the adults. When the adults are there, they got them,
Yeah.
But so they have to get across the point of commercialism across children. And I
hmm
think it's done really, really well. Like you've got, yeah, the sister Sally who's like, I want all of these things, and she's so meticulous with her thing. And if you can't give me any things, I just want money.
hmm
She's like,
hmm
what she say? Like, I just want my fair share. Like,
Yeah.
what does she know about her fair share? But
Yeah.
adults do, and I think that's what makes it funny. And I think Snoopy's also a great character to use to emphasize this point because I don't. Do we know how old Snoopy is? Like, he's a dog. He could be anything. He could have like a really adult mindset, you
hmm
know?
hmm
And so I think it is really funny to use the dog as like a, and then he wins, we'll get to it, but he wins the show anyway. Like
hmm
it's, he really feeds into commercialism. He's kind of that anti to Charlie Brown, who's like, I don't want to do all this commercialism every year. His own dog is the one that's like encouraging it.
hmm
I think that in itself is funny. But yeah, using younger characters to emphasize this, and it's done well. Like it wouldn't
hmm
make sense in any other world, but it's funny when Sally's sitting there asking for tens and twenties.
Yeah. He goes back with Lucy, Linus. There's someone else there. Maybe it's like Schroeder, and they're trying to knock a can off a fence with snowballs. I think before that is when this. I always found this was a really like funny line. Snowflakes are falling, and they're catching them on their tongues. And I should mention, the music here is, I believe it's Skating by Vince Guaraldi.
Mhm.
It's a really pretty piano piece that I think a lot of people use around December, like really pretty. And they're catching snowflakes on their tongue, and they're talking about him, and Lucy goes, "I never eat December snowflakes." And I always remember because it's so funny. Right after she says that, the camera like pushes in on her face, and she's like, "I always wait until January." Like I think it's a kind of funny thing for her character. Like Lucy is very matter of fact in a lot of things, and kind of has her way of going about things. It's very funny. Linus ends up knocking the can off the fence by using his blanket as kind of like a swinging maneuver, and they make fun of him for it. And Lucy, says something along the lines of, "What are you gonna do with that blank when you grow up?" And he's like, "Maybe I'll make it into a sport coat." And he's got it over his shoulders. Like Linus is so unperturbed by everything.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite things about Linus is he really sticks to his guns when it comes to this blanket. And I think
hmm
it's such an important part of his character and every single person always tries to tear him down for it, especially Lucy.
hmm
Like you said, like what are you gonna do with that blanket? You gotta get rid of that stupid blanket. And he's like,
hmm
no, and he always proves how it's still important to him.
hmm
And you know what? Good for Linus.
Yeah.
I think it that all leads into him being such a pivotal character by the end and really showing Charlie Brown what Christmas is about. Like from the very beginning, he was the kid that stuck to his guns. You know,
hmm
he wasn't perturbed by anybody else. He always had his belief of like, this is what Christmas is. And so I think
hmm
it really made sense by the end when he was the one that said, yeah, this is what Christmas is all about. Like, of
hmm
course it would be him. He's
hmm
not swayed by commercialism or anybody else's thoughts about him. Like, he's rooted in what he knows Christmas is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always been one of my, I think he is my favorite Peanuts character. He always seems like the character that, like you said, is very unperturbed by everybody else and is unapologetically himself. And he's really endearing in like everything he does.
Mhm.
So Charlie Brown goes and speaks to Lucy about his problem. Something that's become very iconic with her character is her psychiatric help booth, where she sits down and she makes Charlie Brown give her a few cents. Again, kind of commercialist, and she's shaking like money, money, money. I love the sound of cold hard cash. I love the sound of clanking money. And everything. That's the whole thing. And she names like she asks Charlie Brown if he all these fears he might have during the holiday season. And she names like six or seven things by their government name, like super
Mhm.
like elaborate. Even watching it at 23, I was like, I don't know I don't know those words. Like he essentially just tells her, I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel, I'm kind of not happy. And so she suggests that he get some involvement. The kids are putting on a Christmas play. He should be the director. So he takes the job. He eventually gets to the play. This is where Vince Guaraldi's Linus and Lucy comes in, and this has also become, I think, really iconic. There's a giant wide of all the characters dancing, and all of them are doing like some really fun, like Linus and Sally are doing like the skips on their feet. Someone is doing like a zombie walk. Someone's like tilting their head back and forth. Like Schroeder's on the piano. Snoopy's got like a giant standing bass. Like it's just really really cute. I think it's very interesting. Throughout a lot of this, Charlie Brown is coming in and trying to establish order, and he's got like a mock megaphone kind of telling him, "All right, places, action," telling what he wants because the creators behind this special kind of went into the entertainment industry to a degree. I wonder if they were trying to make a joke about like the director always having like a vision or having control. Like I kind of noticed more Charlie Brown's like mannerisms here as kind of being the person that's has all these demands, and sure directors, do have orders and demands, but I just wondered if that was supposed to be like a meta joke. I thought it was
Mhm.
interesting.
I think it's a very interesting role to suddenly give Charlie Brown. He's been this character that's like sidelined by everyone else, and suddenly Lucy's like, be the director. And
hmm
I think like he doesn't really know what to do with that. So he becomes, I think, what he knows a director to be, which is like you give the orders, you keep everyone in line, like this is what you do. And he figures out real fast, like this is an unruly crowd. They're gonna do what they want to do,
hmm
you know? And I
Yeah.
think that he also has to learn that. Like it's not just to the book. Not everything
hmm
is exactly the way he certain like envisions it in a way.
hmm
So I think it was a good role to give him because not only does he kind of learn the spirit of Christmas through it, but he learns a lot about like being in a leadership position, like
hmm
how different that might be from maybe what he originally thought.
One of the things I also really like about this period of the special or this section is I think in later Peanut specials, Lucy and Charlie Brown kind of come to blows a lot. I mean, Lucy's the one who starts the classic, pulling the football away from him and he swings and misses. But I think as the director, she's kind of very supportive of him. Like she's kind of his right hand woman and like helping him kind of try to organize this crowd and be a little bit supportive, more supportive than we normally see. That kind of stuck out to me too, and I like seeing the two of them kind of taking this on together.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I had the same
Mhm.
thought last night when I was watching when like up until that point she's always kind of been I don't want to call her the bully, but she's very adamant about her views and like about
Hmm.
Linus's blanket again. Like you and your that
Hmm.
stupid blanket. Like to her, she has this idea of the world and that's her idea of it. Um, but then she gets to that moment with Charlie Brown and he's like, I just don't, I'm missing the spirit of Christmas. And then suddenly she's like, well, like, why don't you direct our play? Like that might help you get into it. And I think, I don't know if
Hmm.
it is the spirit of Christmas that causes this little like change for her, or maybe she just saw that Charlie Brown really was down about something and like in a normal circumstance, yeah, she would have bullied him, but he clearly needed a helping hand, especially when nobody else really wanted to give it to him. I mean,
Hmm.
besides Linus, but
Yeah.
so I do think it's a really like touching moment where suddenly Lucy is kind of caring in that way.
Hmm.
And I think it does blend really nicely into this idea that Christmas is a time of giving and like being friends with everybody and like kind of putting aside your grievances to be together for the holidays.
And so Charlie Brown assigns her to give out the roles of the play. A lot of the jokes in the special are like really quick, like 30-second to 1 minute bits. And a lot of that comes from Lucy talking with each person there. I forgot his name, but she gives someone the role of the shepherd, and maybe you can pull it up if you know what I'm talking about, but it zooms on
Yeah.
him and he goes, "Every year I'm always the shepherd." Like she gives Linus, I think, is it a shepherd or one of the wise men? And she again harps on him about the blanket, and he throws the blanket up, and it's a very like fun animation thing. It perfectly forms like a little like hood around him and his shoulders, like he's a
Hmm.
shepherd. Um, Charlie Brown makes Sally Linus's wife in the play, and so she's very like lovey-dovey on him. He's kind of
Hmm.
embarrassed by it. Um, I think the funniest of all that we talked about earlier is when she goes up to Snoopy, and it made me laugh a little bit because yeah, if this was like a completely, independent, no budget child production, you probably would have to have one, anthropomorphic animal do 17 different. And she goes,
Hmm.
Snoopy, you're gonna be all the animals in our play. And he does like every noise she asks,
Hmm.
like a pig, a cow, a sheep. What about a penguin? Why would there be a penguin at the first Christmas? But he does a little like waddle and like hops on
Yeah.
her head. It's really funny. It's really funny, and I think this is like you're saying at 23 years old, I laugh at it, but I think in terms of like simple visuals, kids are going to find it really, really funny if they're watching it at a young
Hmm.
age. Um,
I think
Go ahead.
also about um this entire sequence in general. Like you saw the whole cast of characters at the beginning celebrating Christmas, and like
Hmm.
if you've read the comics, you do know the characters. But I think that this section of the film really sets up everybody. You really see
Hmm.
one-on-ones with these different people, and you get to kind of get a feel for who they are. The shepherd kid,
Hmm.
the girl with the really curly hair. Like you get
Yeah.
these little moments that show their personality. Like she's so obsessed with her hair. You got Pigpen,
Hmm.
who another one that like she shows him the mirror and he's like, I didn't know I looked that good. Like you
Yeah.
see these little bits about these characters. Same thing with you see a little bit of Linus again. You get that relationship between Linus and Sally, and then you
Mhm.
get more of Snoopy. And I think in a span of just a couple minutes, you meet so many people and you know everything you need to know. And I think that that's a really well done sequence.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm so mad at myself. I forgot Pigpen. Pigpen's one of the funniest because, she's complaining about Pigpen's dust in her hair, and I think Charlie Brown walks over and after Pigpen gets his part, he's trying to explain to them, you're in a manger. Imagine it's a manger of a really famous like biblical character like
Hmm.
Solomon, or I think he names like Nebuchadnezzar.
Hmm.
And Pigpen kind of looks at her and goes like, "Makes you consider me in like a better light," essentially is what
Yeah.
I don't remember them throwing out like biblical references, but now that I've grown up and I'm watching it actually line for line, it's really funny. Like
Hmm.
no matter what Charlie Brown does, though, we go back to hearing Linus and Lucy and all the characters playing and having fun. So I think Lucy asks him to, I forget the exact reason she brings it up, but get a Christmas tree for the stage. And so this is where it's really, really, really small, but I love Linus and Charlie Brown's camaraderie. He says Linus will go with him, of course. It's fun. It's like they're best bros. Of course they'd go together and do this together. And it's kind of sad. A lot of the characters tell Charlie Brown right before he leaves, like, get a good one, Charlie Brown. Like, don't screw this up. Get us a good tree. And
Yeah, somebody literally says like, do something right for once. It's like,
right?
boom,
That's
you
that's
know?
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and so they walk out to this tree lot, and it's another, stab at commercialism. All the trees in the animation design look the same, but the animation is so specific that they have to get their point across with kind of like sound and kind of character action. So the trees look normal, but they're colored pink, and Linus can literally knock on one, and it sounds like aluminum or something. So you can
Mhm.
tell all these trees are artificial, and I think Lucy even says maybe I'm having, I'm gaslighting myself, but I swear Lucy uses the word artificial or says get us a nice
I I
type of
think she
tree.
says aluminum.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. She does say something like, "Go get us like a nice aluminum tree or something." Like,
Hmm.
it is, yeah, get the biggest aluminum tree you can find, Charlie Brown, like
Hmm.
that. And I think, like you said, it really points, yeah, Brown maybe painted pink. Like,
Hmm.
it really points to commercialism, and I think maybe their pers or the creator's perspective on like a future of Christmas, where like you're not even getting the classic wood and green out of the ground trees anymore. Like they're making these
Hmm.
artificial aluminum, you know, pink trees all of a sudden. I
Hmm.
mean, I think even Linus says he's like, I didn't even know they made wooden trees anymore when they come to the little iconic tree.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that's a really interesting take on if you're visualizing commercialism. Because up until this point, they've talked a lot about it,
Hmm.
and you get those dialogue beats with the sister and the money and the dog and him with the contest. But this is that first moment of like, the world is now, you're seeing visually, even trees are commercialized. Like
Hmm.
nothing just is anymore. Christmas
Hmm.
doesn't just exist. They have to find some way to upsell it. So
Yeah.
I thought that the lot of Christmas trees really was like that pivotal, oh my God, like something as simple as a tree is
Yeah.
now commercialized. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. They come to the iconic tree. It's a really, really small sapling with like three branches, only a few fronds, and they decide to pick it. Charlie Brown picks it up, and like half the fronds fall off, and they kind of look at it and just walk back. And Charlie Brown is really proud of himself. He sets it on the piano for everyone to see, taking off his coat, and everyone lays into him about this tree, and they tell him like, "Of course you." I don't remember verbatim, but I do remember visually. There's two shots of two girls. They're on a yellow and a red background, just insulting him. Everyone's insulting him about this tree, and he feels really down about it. And so Linus steps up and says, "Let me tell you the true meaning of Christmas, Charlie Brown."
Hmm. I'm
And
gonna just for 1 second because you're getting to a really big sequence.
yeah.
I wanted to add in when he picks up that tree, like Linus is telling him, this isn't what they asked for. Like they want an
Hmm.
aluminum tree, and he goes, "No, like this is perfect for our play. Plus, I think he needs me."
Hmm.
And I think that's one of Charlie Brown's first moments where even before Linus has his speech, he's starting to understand the true spirit of Christmas.
Hmm.
Everyone around him is still on this aluminum tree commercialism grind, and he's like, no, this real living little sapling needs me in the spirit of the season. Like it's about giving back. And like sure, the tree isn't a person, but if you use the analogy, like he is giving back to this tree. He wants to give this tree life and give this tree a chance because this is
Hmm.
Christmas,
Hmm.
and I think he does that just instinctively. So I think
Hmm.
it's really interesting that even before he's told this is the spirit of Christmas, he's always had the spirit of Christmas inside of him, but it's become so muted by the need to buy things and whatever it is that he didn't know it was there, but it was always
Hmm.
there because he wanted to help that little tree. And I think that's really special.
The most pivotal scene is, which again has become iconic just visually, is Linus walking to the front of the stage, calling for the lights to come down, and with a single spotlight on him, proclaims to everybody the coming of Jesus Christ and the existence of God, and that is the true meaning of Christmas. When I watched this a few days ago, I was mulling around in my brain if this sequence was meant to be maybe the creator's personal beliefs, or if it was in line with some of the other kind of jokes in the special. Honestly, if it was kind of making a joke out of people that do say that to people in real life. But I think our conversation, honestly, has kind of given me the answer. I think they mean it earnestly. Now, that doesn't mean that they're trying to preach to people, but I think if you want to take it just a base level, I think they're trying to say Christmas is not about the gifts. It's not about spending money. Heck, it's not about wanting money and gifts. There is something far more important, and maybe this is their personal belief. I actually don't know, but there is something far more important. This entire holiday was created because of the birth of the Lord. I know that's something you and I both believe in, and
Hmm.
that's what this season should really be about at a baseline level in everyone's hearts. And I just love the poignancy of he finishes it, he walks off, and he just goes, "That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown." Like it's such a
Hmm.
huge speech, and he caps it off with such an iconic, extremely simple line.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I love the sequence, and I agree with you. I don't think it was meant as a joke. I do think it was very earnest, and I think
Hmm.
even if you don't believe in Christ or, basically what Christmas is, you can't really deny the fact that Christmas exists because that was a belief. I mean, it's Christmas,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like that is what Christmas was about. And we have our red Santa because of Coca-Cola. I mean,
Hmm.
it was always commercialism and like it's become that. But if you go all the way back, I mean, this is what Christmas is about. Whether you believe in it or not is up to you, but the reason the holiday even exists is because people believed in the birth of Christ and they believed in the speech that Linus gives. And so I think
Hmm.
it is very earnest and it is that moment that kind of pulls out from this whole commercialism mindset. And finally, Linus says, no, like this is where this started. This is
Hmm.
where we learned to believe in Christmas and, celebrate Christmas in a way. I think
Hmm.
it's also really pivotal for Linus. I mean, he's not that he's a quiet character, but you don't get a lot out of him. He's always holding his blanket, like,
Hmm.
it's that's him. And growing up, I was always told that this was the first and only moment that he drops his blanket. I don't think it's ever true. He also does it later when he wraps it around the tree. But I think
Hmm.
it is important that he does drop the blanket in this moment.
Yeah.
Like I forget what the line is, but he reaches his arms out and he drops the blanket while he's telling the story about
Hmm.
the birth of Christ. And I think that's symbolic in itself. Like he's
Hmm.
always holding this blanket, but when it comes down to explaining where this all came from and being really passionate about this, he's able to let that go and kind of just fuel all his faith into this one moment. And I think
Hmm.
that's really beautiful in itself. And yes, so that like final line, it's great. And it's
Hmm.
iconic. Like that's what Christmas is about, Charlie Brown. And it's
Hmm.
so, not that I got emotional last night, but I was like, that for me was, I needed to hear that yesterday.
Hmm.
Like we are talking earlier, I've been feeling very like burdened by this need to get gifts all the time and there's not
Hmm.
enough things under the tree. Like I'm doing something wrong this year. And it's like, no, this is what Christmas is about. It's
Hmm.
about the birth of Christ ultimately, but it's also about being with family, being with friends, and remembering that like that is the core value. It's not about giving all these gifts. It's about coming together for this one moment. Whether you
Hmm.
believe in it or not, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And to really take the religious argument a step further, you could also argue that when he drops the blanket, this thing, this material, worldly thing that's giving him closure. When you have God and Jesus, you don't need it because you have Him.
Hmm.
He just drops it. He doesn't need it because he has God.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a beautiful point. I love that.
so Charlie Brown kind of, walks off the stage. He grabs the tree and leaves with him. I think I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but I remember the visual of him. I think he's looking at like shooting stars and just looking up at the sky. And I'm probably confusing his and Linus's lines, but I think he looks at it again and kind of says, "All it needs is a little love." And he takes one of Snoopy's ornaments off his house and puts it on the top, and it bends the entire singular branch over.
Hmm.
It's really funny because he goes, "Everything I touch gets ruined," and kind of runs off.
Hmm.
And Linus and the rest of the group come up, and it is really sweet. Even Lucy, who, again, in this special is kind of different than when we normally see her, even she says, "I never did think it was such a bad little tree." All right, Lucy, it's not what you were saying 15 minutes ago, but you know what? That's okay. And Linus takes his blanket and he makes a little like tree like little base for the branch, and they take all the Snoopy's gifts and they put tinsel around it and lights on it and bush up the palm fronds or the tree fronds a little bit, and it comes away being this really pretty cute Christmas tree.
Hmm.
And Charlie Brown walks back over and they're hiding it. They separate, and he turns and it's a visual of him from behind, but he kind of like jumps down on his knees because he's that shocked that it looks different. and the finale is all of them going, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown." And
Hmm.
if you were to really, really analyze this structurally, I think the ending could be stretched out a little bit more. It feels like kind of a quick ending, a quick fix. But I think from a emotional standpoint, the catharsis is all of his friends coming together for him and doing something nice for him.
Hmm.
Um, and as the camera pans out and they start singing, and I've always loved, I've noticed it the past few years. I love the visual of they tilt their heads back to sing, but in between every line, their heads all come back down and go back up again. Like you can
Yeah.
watch the animation go back and forth. It's really funny.
Yeah.
It's a really sweet ending.
No, it's a beautiful ending, and it's kind of really harkens back to the main point they're trying to make. When he first gets, to Snoopy's house, like the first prize is on there, and he's like, it's right back to that point of like, God, you know what? I'm not gonna let my commercial dog ruin Christmas. But that even that line kind of shows that like he understood what Linus was saying, but he still is a little bit hung up on this idea. And so, he takes his one little ornament, he puts it on the tree, and it doesn't work, and he
Hmm.
gives up. You
Hmm.
know, like he's only powered by this idea for so long, and then suddenly he's like, I've been burdened by commercialism again. I've killed it. I'm no good, and leaves. And when all his friends come in, I think you see that Charlie's very moved by this speech that Linus gives, but so is everyone else. I mean, they all follow him out. They easily could have just stayed in there and been like,
Hmm.
well, whatever, let Charlie Brown do his thing. But no, they all come out and they do. They take what was once commercial, all of Snoopy's things on his house, and
Yeah,
make it into something beautiful,
it's
into
true.
something that is for the community. And I think that
Hmm.
that moment is so important because, yeah, the one ornament and the one person didn't make that tree perfect, but bringing everyone else together to decorate this tree is what made it beautiful.
Hmm.
I think it's, I would always joke. My mom was watching yesterday and she was like, suddenly this tree has branches. Like, what? This tree is
Hmm.
suddenly
I,
beautiful with that
I got
cabin,
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, like visually it doesn't make sense, but it's not about that. It's about the
Hmm.
meaning of everyone coming together to work towards something. Basically, something that Lucy said early on, like you need involvement. But
Hmm.
it wasn't the Christmas play. It was coming down together for this one little thing and making a tree beautiful, which is all that Charlie Brown ever really wanted to do, but it wasn't something he could do on his own. Because that's not
Hmm.
the spirit of Christmas. The Christmas isn't about being by yourself, it's about being with other people. And so when they have that moment and they say Merry Christmas, like that is Christmas. And yes, it's a little bit quick and a little bit cliche, but I think it drives the point home of this is what Christmas is all about. It's about gathering together and celebrating something with the people that you love.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a perfect capping point on kind of the describing the whole Christmas season and the message of the special. Um, we've really walked through this whole thing beat for beat. I do really just want to hammer home personally my love for just kind of the comedy in this and the visuals. Like even Lucy calling herself like a Christmas queen repeatedly it's really hard to get to explain, but just individual lines have become so iconic and just enjoyable to just hear people say. Like you and I are saying them basically verbatim back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's because it's so ingrained in our memories, and we love it so much. And something I kind of noticed on this watch was, this is a very, very weird comparison to make, but you think of something like Star Wars, like the original Star Wars movies and how they're remastered and George Lucas adds new stuff to this. I think watching this in 2025, which I think it has been, this year is 60 years since it aired. Watching it in 2025, it looks polished, but you can in every single frame tell that this is hand-drawn animation from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't changed the colors, they haven't edited it, they haven't done a remaster. I'm sure they've done remastered in the sense that, let's make it look clean, but it's not heavily altered at all. And like there was near the end of the special when he's under the stars, I was watching it, the visual of the little star, it's something like it's a plus sign, and to make it twinkle, all they do is they've added another plus sign over it and just turned it like counterclockwise. Then it goes
Mm-hmm.
away, and they repeat that. It's just such simple animation, but it's really visually iconic and just kind of
Mhm.
enrapturing all the same. I just wanted that was something in my notes I wanted to mention. I just love the animation style.
Yeah, I it's so iconic for what it is, and I think that any attempt to change it or improve it, like yeah, there's little things in the film where because it was hand drawn, like you lose some of the details when you zoom out or whatever it is. But I think
Hmm.
there's charm in that, and I'm
Hmm.
glad that they haven't tried to change it in any way or up it because it is so iconic for what it is.
Hmm.
Like this is Peanuts for me. This is Pinnacle Peanuts. If they tried to change this, I'd be like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I'll
Hmm.
admit, I haven't seen the new like animated Peanuts movie. I
I
think some
haven't
people
either.
liked it, but
Hmm.
I'm sure the characters are still great, but half of what these films are for me is like you said, it's the animation. So bringing that new animation style to Peanuts, like, just didn't draw me to the film personally because
Hmm.
I come for the very simple hand drawn nostalgic feeling that you get from these little shorts. I don't need an hour long, Charlie Brown special. I enjoy that these are little things that you can put on and just enjoy at the end of the night or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And it doesn't need to be this big production. Not that, I
Hmm.
mean, this is obviously it's hand drawn, it's difficult to make, but it doesn't need to feel like it was made with all of these crazy tools and whatever. Like, no, it was just people came together and drew something and animated
Hmm.
it. And like that's really, really cool. And I think that we could use a little bit of coming back to that.
Hmm.
I think it's become too easy to rely on CGI or, up your animations with whatever, when
Hmm.
this worked and still works.
Hmm.
And there's something to be said about it. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. I love this animation.
Yeah, well, Cassie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on for the holiday special,
Yeah.
and then we could nerd out about this together. Um, Before I kind of wrap up, I want to give you a chance for people that want to. We mentioned at the top, you're a video game producer. You had some experience that at Chapman. Where can people find more about you and your work?
Yeah. So I'm working for a video game company called Omni Mega Supercorp. We have a website. Other than that, we are working on our first project. It's called Ledger Bound. Ledger, like a book, mixed with bound. Ledger Bound. Ledger Bound itself is on all socials, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You search that up, you'll find us. We've got tons of videos up about our game. We're making a narrative-driven tactical RPG. I would get into more details, but you can look that up if you want to. It's comedy driven. The heads are people that worked on Helldivers 2. All really great people. I love my company. But yeah, if you're into games, you're into narrative games, definitely check out Ledgerbound. We are quickly moving towards launch. So yeah, we're doing really exciting stuff. But thank you for calling that out, Cameron. I love talking about my job. I love talking about my work. So yeah, if you like games and you're interested, definitely check out Ledgerbound on Instagram or any other socials you use.
Yeah, well, thank you, Cassie. I appreciate your time. Everyone, thank you for listening to this holiday special of the Dual Dialogue podcast. As always, you can find all episodes and sound bites of episodes on YouTube. You can also find the podcast on Spotify. And you can also find sound bites and clips of my other entertainment journalism work on my Instagram account, cams_entertainment_corner. I have a lot of work over there, dual dialogue podcast episodes. I have creative interviews for a site called Immersive Media that I write for. I have my personal outlet, The Corner, that I write for. So you can find all content from me over at that page. Wish you a good season. Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.